Welcome, everybody. The Big Dudes in the Trenches podcast. We are bugless on this Halloween. Not very fitting, gotta say. We have to have bugs on Halloween.
Dude, I'm telling you, the show's a lot scarier when he's on with us. So, yeah, he needs to be here on Halloween.
No, what's scary is the amount of news we have to cover today because apparently everything in the world happened in college football this weekend.
Yeah, quite literally, actually.
So I guess let's quit delaying and go ahead and get started. We got stuff to talk about in the NFL.
Oh, jeez. And King Henry's back. He's back to doing his thing. Let's just start off here. Derrick Henry has tied O.J. Simpson and Adrian Peterson's combined record of 6 career touchdown, 200-yard, 6 career 200-yard games in his win over the Texans. It's also his 4th consecutive 200-yard game versus the Texans. Man, they just can't figure him out. What are you making of this? Is the game plan to the Texans just to run the ball?
The game plan against the Texans is to run the ball with Derrick Henry. Put it that way. We have these stats from ESPN. This is just too great. I couldn't help myself. Most games with 200 rushing yards and 2 rushing touchdowns in his career. Derrick Henry is number 1. And then Derrick Henry only against the Texans would still be number 1.
That's amazing. I love this. This is fantastic. My God. Houston, you know what they're doing at this point. Like, sell out and stop it. They had Malik Willis.
Yeah, he had one or 2 good throws.
I'm putting 8 in the box and praying. Like,
yeah, Derrick Henry is worth 9, apparently.
Engage 8. Screw it. Engage 11.
Oh, man.
Oh. I mean, and then on top of that, Christian McCaffrey had a game. His second game with the 49ers, but his true coming out game as he showed that he can run the ball. He can catch the ball. And apparently he can also throw the ball, hitting all 3 phases of the offense for a touchdown. He's the first player to do it since a little-known running back from the early 2000s, LaDainian Tomlinson. You may or may not have heard about LT. I sure have. And he's also only the 4th player since the NFL-AFL merger to do so, joining David Patton, Walter Payton, and as mentioned, LaDainian Tomlinson. My God.
So Christian McCaffrey's pretty good. I don't know how else to describe that. Yep. He's I guess Kyle Shanahan's scheme is really good for a player who can literally do everything. That's what we have learned.
And I was going to say, this is what we were looking for when the Niners traded for him is the versatility in the playbook. How do you use him? How do you maximize him? And Jesus.
I just figured it out. The 49ers need to trade Jimmy Garoppolo for Taysom Hill.
Oh my God. Oh my God. That might actually work. Jesus. All right, let's move on. Yeah, PJ Walker has arm strength. Dude, I watched that Hail Mary and holy. Not only did he get it down there, he led his receiver behind the defense.
I know. It was crazy.
One of the longest
advanced stats puts it at 67.2 yards in the air. Officially a 62-yard touchdown pass. Every bit of that was in the air, and it was halfway into the end zone.
Yep.
So, and then they missed the extra point because DJ Moore took his helmet off celebration. Here's the real kicker, though. He was off the field when he took his helmet off. That should not have been a penalty.
That's ridiculous. That should not be a penalty.
Yeah, he was no longer in the field of play when he took his helmet off. It was not supposed to be a penalty.
Oh my God, NFL refs, you have some answering to do.
But yeah, PJ Walker has been officially named the starting quarterback going forward for the Carolina Panthers,
Well,
and Baker
yeah.
Mayfield
When
is
when you force
not.
OT with the 67-yard air bomb, you kind of tend to do that.
I mean, he also had a game where I don't think he completed any passes, so we don't know yet.
Details. It's a hit and miss, man. Other fun things going on. Barry Sanders is getting the first statue outside of Ford Field. Honestly, he deserves it. They ended his career early, so they might as well quite literally cement his legacy there.
More like Bronze's legacy there.
No, it's tied down with cement.
Okay,
The
fine.
base is cement.
Fine, you win.
It's trust me, I was thinking through it, but you're right. It is going to be a bronze statue. Either way, this is amazing. He has earned every bit of this. Man, I'm happy for him.
No, absolutely. Probably still the best player in franchise history, and at this point, there are several. Seeing
Yeah.
as how the Lions have been around for a very long time.
But yet all of their careers run short. I don't know, man. I can't figure it out.
Yeah, it's so crazy, isn't it? All that losing seems to get to people or something. So weird.
You know who's not losing and is seemingly allergic to it? The Philadelphia Eagles. They are, in fact, still undefeated. It's okay. I don't have my champagne bottle yet, so they got time.
I really hope they go undefeated just to spite you.
I will have
don't
my
even like the
champagne
Eagles.
bottle. I will have my champagne bottle for when they inevitably falter.
We shall see.
All right. So,
No.
those of you who don't know, the NFL trade deadline is tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern.
Mm-hmm.
So the trades have been flying. At least the rumors have been flying, but there is at least one that I really wish Bug was here to talk about because it is no longer a rumor. The papers have been filed. Man, this is an interesting one to me because they just paid the man. Didn't they just come to an agreement to pay him?
No.
Okay, so that was still in the background. All right. Roquan Smith has been traded out of Chicago to the Baltimore Ravens for a surprisingly low cost. Ravens are sending a second-round pick and a fifth-round pick, I believe, in this year's draft.
Yeah, both in 2023.
For linebacker A.J. Klein. Look, man, I get they had to move him. This is a first-round guy. I probably wouldn't have let him go for less than a first-round pick.
Yeah, the gut reaction from me as well is that this is very low value. However, there are a lot of things to consider with this, and I think they're all very important. So, Roquan Smith could not come to a long-term extension in Chicago. It's the reason he's being moved here. He was going to be a free agent coming up anyway. He is an inside linebacker, an off-ball linebacker. His limitation as a player is pass coverage. An off-ball linebacker who can't cover that well is not worth the $20 million he was asking for. Let's be real. In today's NFL, it's not worth that. He's more like Foyesade Oluokun last year with the Falcons, just racking up tackles and not covering worth a shit. I'm being real. He is way better than Foye, but at the same time, he fills the same kind of a role, and he's not worth that much money. So the Bears did the right thing here, not giving him that kind of an extension. Now, the Ravens are paying a lot considering he's not on a long term deal. In theory, this could be a 9-game rental.
Yeah.
Now, expecting to have him for a playoff run as well. the other thing they're trading for here is the first rights of negotiation, which
Yep.
is an insane thing to be giving up a second round pick for. If you really break that down, it's actually a lot of value for what's actually being sent over to the Ravens here. So, yes,
Could you
Roquan Smith, if he were on a 5-year deal right now, would probably get you like 2 first round picks. At the same time, he's not, and there's potential he doesn't re-sign with Baltimore.
could you imagine if he re-signs with Chicago? I know he actually has a lot of love for the city and the team. Maybe not the leadership right now, but could you imagine if he does this and then went up to the GM and went, "Hey, do this. I will be back in March." Like, could you imagine the
Um,
swindling? And as
it's
far as I know, there's nothing elite as long as the Bears aren't contacting him with specific contract offers. There's nothing illegal about that.
You are correct. There's nothing illegal about it. You are also correct. It would be insane. Um, that's that's not going to happen.
I'm
But it's
just
fun to think about.
oh,
Let's just say there at this point there are 32 teams in the league who would want Roquan Smith on their team. Let's be real.
yeah.
The Chicago Bears already failed in negotiations. They said, "You're asking for more than we're willing to give you. We're going to leave the table." So now there are 31. Well, the Ravens just got up to the front of the line. That's really
Yep.
all that they were able to do here. So it's a 9-game audition plus whatever they can do in the playoffs. And then they got to the front of the negotiating table. But
Yep.
it, for considering that aspect of this, it actually is a lot of value in the trade.
That's no, that's fair. I didn't even think of that. All right. Additional rumors. Apparently, the Chargers are having a real hard time. Is it the Chargers, or the Rams?
The Rams.
One of the Rams. Okay. The Rams are having a real hard time moving Cam Akers, and he's realizing that maybe he might potentially be part of the problem there. Um, so apparently he's going to rejoin the team if he's unable to get traded. This is a dude that I would have pegged 3 weeks ago for a trade. Um, I'm surprised
Mm-hmm.
one hasn't gotten done yet. I don't know what their asking price is. Um, uh, but again, I can't really see too many teams willing to pay a high price for a running back with no NFL stats coming off of an Achilles injury.
Well,
Um,
and I also don't see an NFL team trading for a guy with this many personality issues. I don't know how
yep.
deep this problem goes. So it's hard to move any draft capital or anything for this much of a wild card, especially
Look,
coming off injury. You're right.
I'm gonna go ahead and say now that I've been sitting on Cam Akers in my dynasty league for 2 years now, and I can't drop him yet because I need to see if he gets traded. But the second he doesn't, bro, he's gonna hit waiver wires so quick it's not even funny.
I would go ahead and drop him right now if I were you, but that's just me.
Well, I will be able to this week. I haven't put my claims in for this week, so. Um, and then apparently the Saints are living in some alternate reality. Alvin Kamara is good. Alvin Kamara is not Christian McCaffrey good. I don't personally, especially with a looming suspension, they should not be asking for the package that McCaffrey got.
I would argue he's just as good, specifically because of Christian McCaffrey's injury concerns. And I know that does balance out with suspension concerns for Kamara. At the same time, on the field, they produced about the same this week,
No,
which, it's hard to compare 1 week's worth of data, but Kamara is extremely talented. And if you're going to, we saw McCaffrey's deal, it wasn't as much value as we expected it would be for a player of his caliber, right? If you can get a second round pick for Kamara,
yeah,
I mean, that sounds like a no brainer to me. Trading for him, even with this looming suspension, like if I were the Dolphins, if you have any draft picks left, I would very much
we
consider
do,
doing that.
we do.
I
I
don't know if you
hear
believe in those sorts of things anymore, but
there's another rumor I've heard, and this is pure speculation. No. no reports with it, but since you brought Miami up, apparently Miami might be in the market for Bradley Chubb.
The only team I've seen in connection with Bradley Chubb is that the Jets are not interested, which is a weird rumor to
That
come
means
across.
that means they were at some point and heard the
Right.
price.
Probably
We are
probably
interested.
accurate.
I want this. I am not interested.
But I think the Saints coming out and saying what they're looking for Kamara is somewhat related to the rumor that leaked last week that the Eagles were interested. So I'm surprised they're willing to move him personally. And
Yeah.
I don't think asking for a second round pick is crazy at all.
I do gotta say that you gotta think with both of these running backs we just brought up, even Cam Akers with his personality issues. Um, the Bills are in conversations with both of these teams right now. The Bills need help at running back. I think Kamara fits fantastically in that offense, giving Josh another
That would be terrifying.
giving Josh another receiving option. I don't know. If I'm the Bills GM, I have to be making that call.
I don't know why the
Hey,
NFC
I've
South
got a
is all
second round pick
selling.
for
I don't know why the NFC South is all selling right now
there
though, because currently the
because they're
Falcons are
all
leading the
under
division.
500.
And
They're all
yeah,
under
but like
500. We're gonna see this again, Doug, where Miami's gonna miss the playoffs above 500, and then here comes the NFC South below 500 in the playoffs.
with like a 6-11 team in the
Yeah,
playoffs.
my
And it's
God,
Tom
they're all
Brady and he
on
wins the
pace
Super
for.
Bowl.
Hold on, they're all on pace for 6-11 because they're
I
all 3-5 right now. Oh my God.
I I pulled that out of my ass. I'm not lying.
Oh my God. Oh,
Anyway,
jeez. All right. We could speculate on trade rumors for the next like 4 hours. Let's go ahead
yeah, there are
and
plenty
get into
circulating,
our games.
but yeah, more fun. So our pick'ems. This is where we went into the week, and then a lot of games
I like
happened.
it. Yeah. Let's start with the primetime games
So,
that we can cover so far.
so yeah, we don't pick Thursday because we start the show after Thursday Night Football starts, and that's kind of not fair. But the Ravens did win
I just want to
27-22.
clarify something.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't you switch your pick?
I did to make
Am I
Bug
back?
happy
I know
in
I
the
lagged
moment.
out there for a second.
I you're back. I did on the show live to make Bug happy in the moment, and then I switched it back later. So I'm
Okay.
going with the Browns. It is legitimate.
Okay.
Anyway, back to Ravens Bucks. It was the best Thursday night game so far, which isn't saying too much, but also it was like a decent
It's
game.
not.
So
No,
you know,
it was. I We're now 8 games into the season. I am confident saying this. Tom Brady's age is finally showing. Granted, not all of his misses are his fault. There's a couple weeks ago, Mike Evans missed a absolute guaranteed touchdown, just straight missed the ball. But something is just not the same with Tom this year.
yeah, I don't agree. I would say the issues so far are showing up on the offensive line, and the defensive back injuries have been really hurting the Buccaneers. Those two position groups are hurting them more than anything. And Tom Brady, statistically at least, is falling off from last year, but also last year he was the best quarterback in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers can drop to his knees and suckle. Let's be real. So the fact that he's still playing as an above average quarterback is incredible. The man is 45 years old, and he's better than half the quarterbacks in the league by far.
Oh, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying Tom Brady's bad. I'm saying in compared to historic Tom Brady, he is taking a step down.
In compared to historic Tom Brady, he has the worst offensive line he's ever had.
Absolutely. I'm not denying that either. Yeah.
So I don't put this on him necessarily. At the same time, it is kind of cathartic to see him losing for some reason, which feels bad to say, but at the same time, it's definitely true.
It's true. They're on a 3-game skid right now. He has never had a 3-game skid in his NFL career.
Fuck yeah. You know who else is losing? Aaron Rodgers, baby.
Dude, his problem is he has no receivers. And then Christian Watson goes out last night with the concussion.
Yeah, it was
Oh,
pretty brutal. Also, Aaron Jones played amazingly somehow, and yet they lost by 10 points. So, honestly, I didn't get to watch any of this game. I can tell you statistically, this game was basically dead even. It's pretty interesting. Not gonna lie. Um, I don't know what else to say other than that. It just feels like something's bounced the Bills' direction. Maybe I will say turnovers definitely made a difference. At the same time, it wasn't
the,
enough to be the reason necessarily.
yeah. I'm gonna go ahead and say that the Bills are making plays when they need to. The Packers are leaving plays out on the field. That's what I saw. I
Yeah,
watched basically the entire first half, and that is what I have seen consistently. So the Bills are making plays, the Packers are leaving them out on the field.
kind of brutal. Not what the Packers fans are used
Yeah.
to at all, but happens from time to time. We'll see what happens. Aaron Rodgers certainly has the ability to turn things around. We know he does. Tonight actually already started Bengals at Browns. The Bengals are still 3-point favorites, same as the last time we talked about this. Um, still going with the Browns. What are you really thinking about this matchup?
I'm thinking that Browns defensive line is too much for the Bengals to handle. Their offensive line has still been their issue this year, despite the money they dropped into it. You bring in a Myles Garrett who's leading the league in sacks. Um, yeah, I don't know if the Bengals can hold it, and I don't know if they can contain Nick Chubb as well as they've contained every other running back they've played this year. Because, well, I don't think they've played a Nick Chubb this year. So I'm gonna take the Nick Chubb, and I'm gonna take the Browns defensive line in the win here.
I'm with you, and I don't know that I trust myself, but I'm taking the Browns because why not? But then our
Send it.
games of the week. So Bug had the Giants at
Hey,
Seahawks.
look at you, man.
I
You might have
know
a
my
chance
best
to go
week ever.
undefeated in the NFL.
Best week ever. But yeah, Giants Seahawks, which the Seahawks ended up winning by 14 points. Um, there's legitimate conversation that Geno Smith might be in the back end of the MVP conversations right now. Like, this is weird what is happening. I think everybody gave up on Pete Carroll way too soon. I don't know what else to say about it. It's kind of fascinating.
This is a well coached team. Week in and week out, the game plans are on point. The play calling is good. Um, Look, make do with what you got. You shoot your shot with the weapons you have, and the Seahawks are doing just that. Um, the Giants are still trying to play comeback kid every game this year, and it finally bit them in the ass. But no, the Seahawks are a fantastic team right now. I don't quite know what it is. Um, this is a different
Right.
level of Geno that we haven't seen.
Right. You tell me was I don't have no idea either.
Like
My game of the week was 49ers Rams. We already talked about Christian McCaffrey's insane day. And I got to say, another thing that fascinated me about this, when you look at SoFi Stadium, 3/4 of the place was red. There are no Rams fans in the stands. It's all 49ers fans. What is going on with LA teams? It's not just the NFL. USC, UCLA, the Lakers, the Dodgers, the Rams, the Chargers. Nobody can get any fans in the stands. Does LA
nobody can
just
afford
suck as
it.
a pro sports town?
No, nobody can afford it. You're
I mean, it's
paying damn
possible.
near you're paying damn near $6 a gallon for gas. You're gonna go sit in traffic for 3 hours to to go pay $100 to get nosebleed seats. Nah, man, I'm good. I'll just watch it from my TV. It doesn't help that the LA market is so big that regardless of where the Rams or the Chargers are playing, they probably have them on the local market. There's plenty of reasons that this could be an issue for them, and it all comes down to the sports favorite thing, which is money.
Man, the Chargers should have stayed in San Diego. The Rams should have stayed in St. Louis.
Well, hold
But
on.
what do I know?
Let's call this for what it is. The Chargers had attendance issues even in San Diego too.
I mean, all right, the Chargers should have moved to San Antonio instead. How's that?
There you go. Better.
And then your game of the week. How'd that go?
About as flip floppy as me last week on the show. No, honestly, it was a great game. The Vikings are still pulling out close ones. I don't think they're true contenders. I know they're what 7-1 or 6-2, but I don't know if they're true contenders because they have a lot of these close games that they keep pulling out. I'm not sold on the Vikings yet, but they're doing enough, which is the key. And look, the COD weekend, Kyle Murray fought off the bugs of it as hard as he could, but it still resulted in 2 interceptions. So he played a little bit Saturday night. You can't blame the guy. However, DeAndre Hopkins is definitely helping him now that he's back. 12 catches, 159 yards, and a score. You can't ask more than that. It's just those turnovers are going to keep killing him.
Right. DeAndre game was unbelievable. You were actually wrong both times with the Vikings. They have already had their bye week, so they're 6-1. Right in between where you said.
Whatever. I was close enough.
So that puts us actually in the same position as we were before with our pick'ems, because you both went 3-1, and
but you're
did
creeping
better.
Up big.
Yeah, but I'm not catching up.
And I did better.
Yeah. So we will see what happens with our Monday night pick, and hopefully I can make up some ground on Bug here. That's my goal. I don't want to be last. That's all I want.
It's fair.
So, moving on to our sit starts. What do you have for us?
Look, I don't know if I said this on the show. I was really confused by the negative matchup here for Amon-Ra St. Brown. And sure enough, he was targeted significantly all game. I'm surprised he didn't get a receiving touchdown with the way that the Lions came out. That would have really put the knife in the chest here on this one. This was marginal. I would lean to hey, you probably should have started him. In fact, I did start him. But especially in a PPR, 13.9 is a solid game. Chris Olave, he got robbed by him.
All of the touchdowns went to Alvin Kamara.
Yeah. But hey, Amon-Ra St. Brown had a nice game. Nice total yards there.
So we're giving you 2 losses score on the receivers. Brutal.
And a nice score, though.
At least in standard leagues.
That is.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. And then running backs.
Yeah, all right. So full disclaimer here. Raheem Mostert was a last minute I need to adjust. So I went with somebody I knew who I thought was going to have a good game against a weak defense. That was not Raheem Mostert. That was just me trying to cover up for the fact that Chuba Hubbard was sat. Tough one there. I didn't have everyone. I guess I could have picked out of everyone. Would have been funny if I came around and said, hey, I'm going to sit Damian Harrison, start Ramondre Stevenson, which would have actually worked out, by the way. But I went with Raheem Mostert, who did come out early in the game due to an injury. It was minor enough that he was able to return. I just don't think he got the full usage that he was game planned for. Damian Harris, That's a sit, man. I'm telling you right now, Ramondre Stevenson is the number one, the feature back in New England. Do not be starting Damian Harris any further this year.
I'll go ahead and give you a 1-1 on the running backs here.
Appreciate
That's
it.
I don't like Damian Harris to start either, and especially with HPPR or standard league, that's rough. You can't get
Yeah.
6 points or 5 points out of a running back.
Nope.
7 is marginal, and like you can survive with that, but you're never going to get that again. So just sit
Yep.
Damian Harris. It's not worth it. But yeah, Ramondre Stevenson was the guy, or Alvin Kamara. They're just, or Aaron Jones apparently. I mean, they're yeah. We are new the
Yep.
big dogs, but Raheem Mostert didn't show up, unfortunately.
Nope.
Kind of wild though that the Dolphins found their 1-2 punch, and it doesn't involve a running game at all. It's a little known
My
combination of
look,
Tyreek
this
Hill and Jalen Waddle.
look, here's the thing. Like when you talk fantasy and you start talking number one and number two receivers on a team, like you're like, hey, I don't want to carry both of these receivers because I don't know which one's going to go off. Very few quarterbacks can sustain two receivers in a game. Apparently, Tua is that guy because this is not the first week he's done this. I think it was back in week 2 where both Ty and Jalen went over 150 yards each. Like
Yeah,
it's
crazy.
very it's very clear that Tua's reads are where's Ty? Okay, he's not open. Where's Jalen? Like, and those guys are so fast that you can't just say, "Hey, cover them," because
Right.
the second you double cover both of those is when Tua all of a sudden goes, "Hey, look, there's Trent Sherfield. You've never heard of him." Like this offense is giving me hope I have not had in Miami in a long time.
Tua is 5-0 in games in which he did not die. So that's good.
Tua, hold on, let's extend this out. Tua is 11-2 in his last 13 starts. That
That
includes the game he
is
died.
that's pretty decent, gotta say. Unfortunately, it's hard for me to recommend extending a reanimated quarterback because he did pass away in that one game. But it's
he had a
Halloween. I had to do
QBR
something.
of he had a QBR of 138.7. Somebody put up a Rip Lions sign. Like Rip Jeff Okuda. Like
Jeez. Well, that's all we got for the NFL. Let's go ahead and jump to some college news because there's plenty of it, and we're going to be sitting here for a minute. So, I think the only place to really start here is with the. Let's go to the polls. AP poll versus the BDT trench ratings here. Now, a little bit of a switch up at the top because Tennessee is now tied with Ohio State at number 2. Um, this particular service we use to show the AP poll has Tennessee on top because they had more first place votes, though technically Ohio State had more voters, had them in front of Tennessee in total. It's really semantic stuff. There's a tie at number 2. I hate the way that works, but it's definitely possible, and it's happened multiple times now already this season that we've had ties in the top 10. That's the AP poll. So the BDT trench ratings, on the other hand, much bigger change at the top. Now that Ohio State has actually played someone, they move all the way up to number 1. And not only that, but the top 4 have definitely spread out from last week, where TCU,
Yep.
Georgia, team up north, and Ohio State were all within 2 points of each other in the top 4. Now there's over a 5-point spread. TCU really struggled with West Virginia, and it did bring them down. Tennessee and Georgia is massive. In the AP poll, it's going to decide who is number 1. In the trench ratings, I'm not sure. Most likely, the winner of that game will move up to number 1 this weekend, but they need to perform well, and we'll see. I mean, it does help that Ohio State plays Northwestern, so that's going to hurt their schedule some more. But
Are
It's
are you excited for the college football playoff rankings though? They come out tomorrow night. By the time that we're recording this,
yes, I'm very much excited for the college football playoff rankings because they matter, unlike the AP poll. Going forward, what's going to happen with this though is we're going to pull up the AP poll every Monday show, and then every Thursday show we can pull up college football playoffs just to see where we stand with them. Uh, I I think it's worthwhile. Also interesting to me that Illinois has jumped all the way up into our top 10, fighting Illini, really making a push here. Definitely not going to happen in the college football playoff rankings, but
hold up.
you can dream.
I I need to do some math.
Oh no, this is going to take a while.
No, I will do this later. But Doug, I'm looking at your point scores, and then based on total points across, right? So like Ohio State to Georgia in the AP poll. If we set Georgia to 100, because that's the number one that like the most
Hmm.
points you can get, Ohio State's up in that 98, high 98 range. Like you are very close with these rankings to the way it actually breaks out via the AP poll too. They might not be in the same place, but the spreads, even looking at it, the spreads are very similar.
Yeah, it's pretty close. SEC fans won't like the way this looks right now, but it's pretty dang
Hey, they've
close.
got they've got 3 teams in the top 6. Okay,
Well, the Big
that's
Ten also has
significant.
three, so everybody's gonna be mad.
Yeah, but the Big 10
Well,
only has 3 in the top 10.
actually, the Big Ten has four in the top 10. So take that.
God damn it. Not yet, sir.
Yes, yet. Let's move on. All right. Anyway, that's where we stand. Ohio State number one for us. Georgia number one for the AP poll. But we'll find out for real tomorrow, um, as in Tuesday, November 1. So very exciting stuff there. Let's look at some alternate uniforms that we didn't get to before the weekend because some schools don't put them out until like the morning of for some reason. So UCF had all blacks, looking very cool. I like the gold on the all black.
Yeah.
Is Fresno State's alternate helmet. I just loved that script Bulldogs. Very
I
nice.
I love the I love the apostrophe dogs in the front. I also love that
Yeah.
it's spelled like an actual dog, not like Georgia.
D- yeah. Yeah, we'll leave it at that. This is Boise State. Unfortunately, I don't have any better pictures of this. It was an all orange, then with a silver Bronco decal on the helmet, which looks really cool. The video they put out is this guy in a cornfield for some reason, and
Broncos don't go in cornfields.
it's what I had to work with. So it was an all
First off,
orange, which Halloween colors.
you're in Idaho. You're not
Oh, in
known
a
for
potato
corn. You're
field.
known for put him in a potato field, please.
Man, that'd be nobody would know what it is, which would make it actually funnier.
That's what I'm
But
saying. Why are you standing in what looks like long grass?
next up,
Oh,
Florida State had an alternate helmet, which I thought was really cool. Instead of the gold, they went with a white helmet
I
with
like when
a
they break out the white helmets. They do this once or
yeah,
twice every year.
yeah, which yeah, I also like it to include it here. Arizona State had a cool alternate helmet going on here with much bigger helmet decal.
I mean, hey, if you're gonna go for it, go all for it. Don't
Right?
go halfway. Go all the way.
Which is what Arizona State did here. Very
Yep.
much enjoy this helmet, actually. Then we had Minnesota with a Halloween themed jersey here, the black M on the helmet, too. Kind of cool. The photo
Yep.
shoot was in a pumpkin patch with a
At
bunch
least
of
that makes
jack o'
sense than
lanterns.
the Broncos in a cornfield.
Definitely true. Definitely true. And then Michigan State decided to go the exact opposite of all the Halloween theme and go with an all white, including a kind of a whited out logo on their helmet, which looked kind of cool in game. I didn't know about it, but I
You,
didn't
you know
trust it.
who you know who didn't look kind of cool in game?
Uh,
The
Michigan
entire
State.
Michigan State team.
Yeah. So that's why I had their uniform last, because that's a great transition into talking about what happened here. Um, yeah, they kind of assaulted some Michigan players in the tunnel after the game, like literally assault, as in the police are involved,
Yeah.
and 4 players have been suspended indefinitely. And yeah, it's really bad. So not sure exactly how this is going to turn out. Apparently, law enforcement again is involved, and charges are at least being discussed at this time. All sorts of things happening. ESPN's even having to cooperate because they're the ones who have the footage in the tunnel. It's like it's a whole big deal. Um,
Yep.
this really sucks, and just goes to show that sometimes rivalries really can get too heated here. Uh, you're supposed to leave it all out on the field and not in the tunnel after the game.
You
This is
shouldn't have
not
enough
cool.
energy to fight after the game. I will say a couple things. Number one, the Michigan player absolutely did not deserve the beating he took. Number two, he never should have put himself in that situation, though.
Right,
Um, even the clips you see, you can't, you don't even get the full story of it. Um,
right.
what I can tell you is he was starting to go down a hallway he had no business going down. Me knowing how college ball goes, I can almost guarantee you he was running his mouth. Um, and I'm not taking any blame off Michigan State. The reaction is absolutely unsatisfactory, but the blame, large part of this blame does end up on the way the big house is designed. There's no reason that two rivals should be exiting via the same tunnel at the same time. That is asking for these issues.
I absolutely agree with you. And it's been a point of contention for actually several years now. I've seen it being brought up. You know, the university actually has one of the greatest architectural programs in the country, one of the greatest engineering schools in the country, and they can't design a stadium that doesn't involve fans being able to reach over and touch the opposing coaches as they're walking into the tunnel, like what happened to Mel Tucker.
Yeah.
You can't design a stadium that has 2 tunnels. Is that really so hard for you?
Well, they don't want
Like,
to. This part I get. They don't want to get rid of the history of the big house. I get that. Right. But you can still sit there and go, hey, if you win, stay on the field for 10 minutes. Like, losing team, you get 10 minutes to get off the field. Like, that is doable.
yeah, yeah, it's pretty rough, and
Or I
I
don't
kind
know,
of don't know what
maybe
to say with it
hire.
yet. It's
Uh,
there's an ongoing investigation into it and all sorts of things. So
yeah.
I don't want
No, that's
to
fair.
keep going on this. Anyway, moving on here. The This is really funny. So the Stanford tree mascot uh, ran onto the field during the game holding a sign that said "Stanford hates fun" because he was upset with the administration. Um, so that tree has been suspended, and the mascot can no longer attend athletic events. I don't
What
know
is
the
going on?
situation that led to the sign existing in the first place, but the fact
What
that it
is going on
existed
with Stanford?
and the fact that they suspended the guy over it, like, kind of proves his point. So,
He's
oh
just sitting
man,
there on Saturday, not at the game, going, "You played yourself." Because how many
unreal.
students now that they suspended him, you know how many students are going to show up to those games with Stanford hates fun signs? I can tell you, it's the first thing I would do.
Oh yeah,
Don't
absolutely.
don't throw spirit cheese. Me, an alum, bringing craft singles to games to give to cadets. Like this is how this goes.
100%. Uh, another fun thing here: UMass and UConn, the greatest rivalry in the Northeast, has been extended through 2027.
Lord help
So
us all. Why are they
it'll be at
subjecting us to this?
it'll be at a neutral site next year, and then flip flopping home and homes. So I think it goes. It's one or the other,
Where's
but it goes UMass, UConn, UConn, UMass, or the other way around. So one of them has two home games in a row, and the other one has.
where is the neutral site? If you tell
I
me
do not know.
Foxborough, that is a UMass home game.
I do not know.
I would be willing
Um,
to bet it's in Foxborough.
I would be willing to bet that no stadium wants it, and it ends a field there
You
randomly
say that
along the highway.
but Rob Kraft does have a soft spot for New England based teams.
I mean, I guess I could try to look it up right now, quickly. I do know someone that should be able to tell me. Let's see if we know yet. Um, as a former resident of the area, what can you tell us about UConn and UMass football?
They should both be in the FCS where the rest of New England plays because they don't dump enough money into the programs. I,
Understandable.
I I've known some guys that have gone to play at. I knew one guy that went to was at NC State for a bit, but most of them end up at Holy Cross or Bryant or uh, Sacred Heart. Eh, UMass and UConn just they don't have the ability to succeed at the level they want to. Dropping down would actually help them in that. Want to be cheaper because your games are closer. Two, you can actually compete, which is what's going to start drawing recruits back.
So unfortunately, the site for the neutral site game is TBD just yet. We don't know.
Oh, we're gonna have a neutral site, but nobody knows where it's gonna be. We don't have a sponsor yet. Cool.
But also, UConn's 4-5 right now. They have a path to bowl eligibility. So
Who are their next three games? I need to know who.
I don't know, and I just closed it,
I will.
and
I
it
will
just
look this
caused
up.
me to
You
lag out.
continue.
So anyway, let's move on to Auburn, because Auburn's had a heck of a day today so far. This morning, they poached Mississippi State's athletic director right out from under him. John Cohen came over to Auburn, said, "You know what? I would like a $400,000 a year raise." I understand where he's coming from on that. Definitely appreciate the raise. He was kind of at the maximum contract allowable for his position by Mississippi state law. So I don't know why they put a cap on that for themselves, but they did, and Cohen was kind of at that. So he wasn't getting anywhere with Mississippi State anymore. Time for him to move on. Apparently, Auburn originally tried to get Arkansas's athletic director, but Hunter Yurachek instead accepted a raise and extension with Arkansas, came back to his administration, and was like, "Hey, I'm getting offers here. I would rather stay here. What can you do for me?" Which I love that. That's
Yep.
baller. And also John Cohen's all equally baller, saying, "Fuck it, I'm going within the division. I'm heading to Auburn, and you know
I,
what? We play each other this week. So see you soon."
and you know what else I'm gonna do day one? Fire my
Fire the head
coach.
coach.
Who
So
arguably
yeah,
I was never a fan of that hire.
most people weren't. Seems like that's a pretty universal opinion at this point. He never made sense to me at Auburn either. Actually, great at Boise State, fantastic at Boise State. Uh, I didn't see a fit in the SEC culture, and apparently neither did almost anyone else at Auburn or around the Auburn program. So
His
almost made
secretary
it
thought
two
he fit in
years.
very well.
Well, she thought he fit in at Boise State too. Came along with him down to Auburn. Um, anyway, So in the meantime, now the rest of the season, do you know who the coach is going to be?
Oh God.
It's going to be All-American running back and current running coach at Auburn, Cadillac Williams. This is the
All
greatest
right.
thing that has ever happened to Auburn football. I swear, if he beats Alabama in the Iron Bowl, Cadillac Williams is
He's
getting a
gonna get
lifetime
hired on the
contract.
spot. Yeah. If
He
he
is,
himself straps up and beats Alabama football.
I swear, this is the only guy they could have promoted to interim head coach who the fans would have actually rallied around for the rest of the year right now. Apparently, they also fired their offensive coordinator, their tight ends coach, another position coach, really just cleaning house immediately.
I was, I was gonna say, so really, he was the only coach remaining on the roster.
I guess that is also true, yes. But yeah, Cadillac Williams is your new head coach at Auburn, at least for the time being. I love that very much. This is good news for Auburn. But they're, of course, looking for a permanent head coach. One of the names that has been thrown around is Hugh Freeze at Liberty, of course, with SEC experience. But Liberty just signed him to a huge extension. Actually, would put him as the absolute top earner in Conference USA by a startling margin, like almost
How
10
many
times as
TVUs,
much as the
man?
next guy.
Tell me,
Too
no, I'm
many.
kidding. I'm kidding. Yeah, I was
Too
gonna say, I'm
many.
kidding.
Um, so I kind of expect Auburn's going to go all out with their next head coach
Yep.
hire, right? They're going to spend as much money as necessary. At the same time, they're almost paying $47 million in buyouts to Gus Malzahn, Brian Harrison, and the interim head coach that was in between them for some reason also got $5 million when he was fired. Like, it's really a strange financial situation. So I have no idea what Auburn's going to be capable of here. Hugh Freeze, as part of that extension, got a huge bump in his buyout. Now, we don't know for sure if he's signed that extension yet. He has agreed to it, in theory, as far as we understand. But maybe that's not signed yet, and maybe Hugh Freeze is an option. I would say the better option for Auburn would be throw every cent you can scrounge up at Deion Sanders and hope for the best on that one. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, also good for Liberty getting their coach for long term. Hugh Freeze is doing a great job with the Flames. Must be
So
said.
since you brought up Liberty, and we know that UConn must win 2 of the next 3 games, they're playing UMass, Liberty, and Army in that order.
That sounds like a win, loss, win to me. Let's go UConn, bowl eligible, 6 and
Very well
6.
could be.
First year with Jim Mora back, baby. UConn, baby. Let's go.
Jim Mora is the Greg Schiano of UConn football.
That is very accurate. Yes, I love that analogy. Perfect.
Both of
So,
those coaches can only be successful at one school, and that one school can only be successful with that one coach.
terribly, terribly true. So, the last bit of news for college football here, the Big 12 has agreed to a new media deal, which kind of surprised they went ahead already, but we do know a lot of details, and so it's worth talking about. 2.28 billion for 6 years, starting in 25. So all 4 of their additions will be in already, and Oklahoma and Texas will be gone already. This is with the future 12. Came out to almost 32 million a year just in the media rights alone. There's of course more compensation on top of that for being a part of the conference, but the media rights alone are about half of what the SEC is getting and about 2/5 of what the Big Ten is getting. There is a clear distinction between the Big Two and the other 3 right now, even among the Power Five. And I do want to give a huge, huge shout out to Tony Altimore, TJ Altimore on Twitter for putting together this graphic. Where'd Tug go? There you are.
I had pulled myself because I was
You
lagging
vanished for a
hard.
moment.
Yeah, I pulled myself because I was lagging that
Well,
hard.
you're back right now. So
All right, all right.
you're back right now. But yeah, so huge shout out to TJ Altimore. Definitely worth the follow if you're interested in the business side of college football. He puts together things like this, which are very helpful in demonstrating exactly what I was just saying there. The Big Ten and SEC are way beyond anybody else right now. The ACC is kind of estimated because their rights go out to the 2030s, and there's probably some language in there that we don't know about yet that's going to cause some escalation, because if not, the ACC is absolutely screwed in competing in college football for the next decade.
Yeah.
um, that was a really bad decision, tying yourself to one contract for 15 years. um, the interesting part right now with the Big 12 signing it as soon as they did is, how does this impact the Pac 12? Right? Because there's been plenty of conversation about the Big 12 potentially further expanding, potentially to the four corner schools, right? Get the Arizonas in there, maybe get Utah in there, maybe get Colorado back somehow. All those options
You
have
know
been
what? Come
thrown on the
on,
table.
come take New Mexico too. Take New Mexico as well. Get all four corners.
Um, but so far, what we understand of the Pac 12 negotiations, they might actually be in line more than 12 just did. Now, why do we believe that? Well, they just turned down about a 30 million offer. What would amount to 30 million per school per year. Um, and Amazon is still looking to get into the college football game. They haven't been able to do so with any of the other Power 5 conferences just yet. Also, Amazon is headquartered in Pac 12 territory. This is definitely an option. Amazon might get to the table and overpay a little bit, maybe bring up the Pac 12 to maybe 48 year per school. That's definitely on the table right now, and something the Pac 12 commissioner has been saying. Even if university presidents are skeptical, I'm skeptical of that too, but 40 million is still technically, theoretically on the table for the Pac 12, which would be massive.
If they could get
Um,
there. That's the
right, right. So, a couple of things to understand if you are looking at this graphic with us. Um, these are including 2 and 3 media rights. So if you don't understand what those tiers are, tier 1 would be primetime nationally televised games, right? Everybody wants tier 1 content all the time. That's what negotiations used to only be for tier 1 and tier 2 content. Tier 2 is nationally televised games, not necessarily in prime time, right? So for Fox, it'd be your 7 p.m. slot, your 3:30 slot, because your Fox as a network has decided they want noon to be their biggest game. So the other time slots are tier 2 for them, or the FS1 games, right? Those are tier 2. Tier 3 are the games that usually aren't nationally televised. You get local broadcast coverage, or you get some weird out there network that's not really included in everybody's packages, right? And a lot of those games right now are ending up on ESPN Plus. So
yep.
we are very confident in being able to say, since ESPN has said tier 3 rights are included in all of these deals, that, schools no longer have to negotiate their own tier 3 deals, which is massive. For tier 3 games to be included in deals, that's actually a huge step for these types of negotiations. And I understand not everybody listening to the show is going to be interested in the business side of college football like this. I think this is fascinating. And to see the kind of money going into these conferences and these schools right now is just absolutely wild. So this graph once again is showing 2026 estimated money per school per year. The Big 10 pushing 100 million per school. The SEC pushing 80 million per school. Everybody else is like half of that. Um,
Yeah.
it really is the big two in college football.
Yep.
One final thought I had on this is looking at this chart. There's a great reason the Big Ten's not looking to expand again immediately, like with Stanford and Cal or Oregon, Washington, even. The only school potentially on the table that is worth anything close to this money is Notre Dame. And even with Notre Dame, they're not adding value. It's just another school that's worth this much money, right? It's at this point, it's impossible to add value the way things are at the
Yeah.
moment. Uh, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if there's any further expansion from anybody, honestly, at this point, because these contracts are big enough. It's gonna be difficult to drive further negotiations.
Well, and they're big enough in outside of maybe the Big Ten and the SEC. These contracts are written. I doubt they all have escalation clauses like the Big Tens and the SECs would theoretically have.
So the Big 12 does.
Okay.
I we don't really know about the ACC. They've kept a lot of that under wraps, and also the contract goes out so far that
Yeah.
you'd have to think that it probably does, but that might be buried in some weird fine print.
That they didn't think about when they were signing a 15-year
Right,
contract.
right. So the Pac-12 will probably include that as well. You know, there's definitely conversation of the Pac-12 adding San Diego State. Uh, Boise State has been a target, at least in theory, for a long time now. Um, so we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
It's on the table. Anyway, tons of college news. Some of that might have been very boring for some folks. I think it is fascinating. I love talking about it. So that's why we talked about it. That's where we're. Do you have anything to add before we get into these games? Because
Nah, man, I'm ready to
I
talk
don't
about
know
some
if
of
there's
these
anything
games.
to add,
Nope.
but I figured I should ask. So let's hop right into the standings before the week started. You were definitely catching up to me. This is scary. I don't like this.
I don't think I am
You gotta
anymore
stop.
after this week.
Well, let's see. Starting off with the FBS ranked matchups, we start off at noon. Ohio State at Penn State. Um, a lot of
Let it go, Doug.
interesting things
I'm
about
I'm
this
giving
game.
you your free reign here. Say what you want to say.
It is concerning for Ohio State that the offense struggles as much as it does in the first half. And this is now a problem that has persisted multiple weeks. At the same time, come the fourth quarter, they put up like 30 points out of nowhere. At, at some point, you just can't stop Ohio State, it seems like, even if you're playing the best defense of your freaking life, like all of Penn State was the entire game. Also, JTT had probably the greatest individual defensive performance in college football. Really helped Ohio State here. Gotta say that's a good thing if you can have a really good performance like that. 6 tackles, 3 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, 1 forced fumble, 1 fumble recovery, 2 interceptions, 1 pass defended, which turned into another interception. Also returned one of those interceptions for a touchdown.
On one of the most
That's
athletic catches I've seen a defensive end make.
that's kind of insane. Kind of incredible. So good job, JT. And I see why you were the number one defensive end coming out of high school last year. That's just
Keep it up.
true sophomore. We have another season. This is incredible. Now we go to the 3:30 game, Oklahoma State at Kansas State. Oklahoma State seemed like one of the best teams in the country for several weeks. And then Kansas State happened to them 48-0. I even picked Kansas State. I did not expect this at all.
I'm still concerned about Gunnar Gundy at quarterback. Something's not right there. I know Spencer Sanders was having a bad
Sanders.
day. Yeah. Um, but when your backup goes in and he's shaking, that is a worse kind of day.
Yeah, visibly shaking. Um, that was pretty rough. I feel bad for the kid. At the same time, he needs to, play quarterback, do his job.
Yep.
So,
Yep.
yep. Adrian Martinez didn't even play in this game, by the way. This was the
Yep.
backup quarterback. Yeah, terrifying. Also, Oklahoma State can hold over Oklahoma's head. Oklahoma lost 49-0 so far this year. 1 point more than Oklahoma State
I know
lost
where
by.
you're going with this. 48.
Last ranked matchup in the FBS this week, Kentucky at Tennessee. This was just as much of a shock as Kansas State was. Tennessee actually had a defense come to play for once. That was cool for them. Also, yeah, this proved what everybody who actually watched college football already knew, that Will Levis was not a pro prospect. Let's be real. Kentucky's defense is still the best part of this team, in my opinion, and they got rolled for 44 points. It was 44-6,
Jesus.
and it was not good. So, yeah. Nothing you can say about that. It's just
No, that
Tennessee
was
is very
is
good.
good. Yeah.
They play Georgia this weekend, and we will find out how good they are, I guess. Even though they've already beaten Alabama, if they can beat two of the top two teams in the country in
It
the
doesn't
same
matter what they
regular
do the
season.
rest of the year. If they beat Georgia and
Right.
Alabama, they've locked up their position in the college football playoff.
Pretty much. So
Start
good
9-3,
luck.
lose the next three, and
Yeah.
somehow get
Still
in.
make it.
Yep.
So let's go to the FCS ranked. Starting off, Rhode Island at William and Mary. Brutal way to lose a game. I at the same time, I definitely respect going for the 2-point conversion there. Time had expired. Rhode Island's on the road against a favored opponent. Big time game in conference. Go for two. They didn't get it, and William and Mary holds on for the 1-point victory.
I'm all for it.
What a game! 31-30 is your final. The Tribe beat Rhodey.
It hurts, man.
Next up, another 1-point game as Holy Cross beats Fordham in overtime. Just a insane production for both offenses. The thing that I expected to have happen this game was that Holy Cross's defense would actually slow down Fordham's offense for the first time this season. Didn't happen.
No.
Just Holy Cross's offense was able to keep up somehow. So it truly came down to who had the ball last. That happened to be Holy Cross, had the second possession of overtime. Again, decided to go for two and just end the game. The difference here is that Holy Cross actually got the 2-point conversion, win by 1 point, 53-52 in overtime over Fordham.
Jesus.
Wild.
Wild.
Next up, we have Montana at Weber State. This one ended up close on the scoreboard, 24-21 for the Wildcats. At the same time, it didn't really seem that close. Watch the game. The Grizz were statistically dominated, and yet had a couple of things go just right to where they kept it close down to the wire. Like, for example, in the last 5 minutes of the game, they had a kickoff return for a touchdown. So great. It's awesome that you're able to do some of those things, but you need to be able to sustain some drives too, and they weren't able to do that against potentially the second best team in Utah, Weber State. I'd pick them over BYU right now.
Oh. Well, that's just because every time BYU shows up in our slides, somehow they screw all of us.
You just have to flip a coin. That's
Yeah.
all you can do with BYU on the slides. And last ranked matchup in the FCS this weekend, number 23 Idaho at number 3 Sacramento State ended up being very close. Yet again, all of these matchups in the FCS were close this week. 31-28 is your final. The Hornets do win. However, that comeback from Idaho was ferocious and very terrifying. Sacramento State ended up sealing the game on what was the most beautiful jump and spin by any player of all time. The
Facts.
quarterback just like leaped 5 feet into the air and spun a couple of times midair, diving, reaching forward for the end zone. And the Hornets do win this one. And
He
I went
360
undefeated
no
in ranked
scope the
matchups
end
this week.
line. Yeah. You you're undefeated in college so far. Yeah, in all ranked matchups.
Yeah. Yep. All
That's
ranked
that's
matchups.
that's what you needed, man. You needed to give me that space. You needed that breathing room. I gave you a 3 up here.
And then I did very poorly in our matchups to watch.
See, I did not. You still get a is that a 1 up on me on the week? No, you get 2 up on me.
It was 2 up on you. Anyway,
Yep.
we'll start with Bug's game of the week. Northern Iowa at number 24, Southern Illinois. He picked
Another
it for a
close
reason.
FCS game.
UNI always plays everybody tough, even though they're just 5-4 now after this win. It's they're a thorn in everybody's side, and this can happen. 37-36. Northern Illinois does beat the Salukis. Now, the brutal part of this is SIU had 2 different chances to win this game and just botched them both ever so slightly.
Yeah.
Missed a field goal with like a minute left in the game and then somehow got the ball back. I don't even think they got the onside kick. They just got the ball back somehow that I
They missed the field
missed.
goal, so they missed the field goal, so there wouldn't have been an
Right.
onside kick.
Well, true. But they got the ball back and then Hail Mary into the end zone, but there's an offsides on the defense, so it gets batted incomplete. They get an untimed down, get to do it again, 5 yards closer this time. They launch the ball on another Hail Mary attempt. It is caught at about the 4-yard line, and his knee goes down. The ball is down at the 1. Brutal. Yep. Untimed down. There was no time left in the game. Just, it's so freaking close.
That's a tough one, man.
We get memed. We get memed on this one.
We get memed. This happens every week. There's one team that memes us.
Fortunately, you picked Coastal Carolina, so we weren't memed twice. Coastal Carolina at Marshall. I expected Marshall to do better, but Coastal Carolina.
Dude, Marshall is so
yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say Marshall is so hit and miss this year. They're hot, they're not. They're a hot and cold team.
Coastal Carolina got out to a 21-0 lead in the first quarter, and then just kind of coasted from there. Ended up being 24-13. Marshall just abandoned the run too quickly. They were actually very effective when they had called running plays. They just didn't want to do that too often because they were already down 3 scores. So kind of brutal way to lose. Not really being able to stick to your own game plan there. But that's how Coastal Carolina can get you, is force you off rhythm. And that's definitely what happened here.
No, it's brutal. You can't abandon the run, especially when that's the primary of your offense. I understand the negative game script trying to come back in the game, but sometimes the best way to do that is to stick to your game.
Absolutely. And then wrap it up with your game of the week. What do you got for us?
All right. I was looking to the Big Ten West to see if anybody could actually take full control of the Big Ten West. It was weird to have both.
Did.
Yeah, it was weird to see both Illinois and Nebraska sitting atop the Big Ten West. But there we were. And Nebraska played in the first half, took a 6-9 lead. Very nice score. However, the Fighting Illini decided to show up in the second half, especially on defense, putting up 20 unanswered points to win 26-9. Also a very nice score. Um, but no, dude, the Illini are looking legit right now. Um, they have to be the favorite. They have complete control of the Big Ten West. They are in control of their own destiny. Man, this is their season to go for it. And Wisconsin is kicking
Yeah.
itself for letting go Brett Bielema. So yeah,
Well, they didn't. He quit to go to Arkansas. Stupid. Anyway, brutal for the Illinois, the Fighting Illini, that they have to play the team up north later this season because that's going to be a loss, which brings Purdue and Minnesota right back into the conversation. But right now, the conference belongs to Illinois. Only
I was gonna
loss in the
say, but
season to Indiana.
I was
Wild.
gonna say though, like even if the Illini do have to play uh, Michigan, they still will have at least a matchup against Purdue and Minnesota at some point. They have to. They're in the same
Right,
division,
right, right.
so they
So it comes down to that at that point. They're
they
not
still control their own destiny.
true. True. It's just it's not as clear cut as it could have been if they avoided both the big dogs in the East.
Yeah,
You know.
everyone gets a rough one.
So that's our games of the week. I did go 8-2 this week, which felt good. Felt good. Get a little bit of separation here, uh, and I'm getting close to the 50th win of the season, which is also very nice. Happy about that.
Nice.
I think both of us are going to be at 50 next week, though. Not to
Well, we
jinx
know what
us.
my game of the
Not
week
trying to.
is. We know what my game of the week is.
I actually don't know what your game of the week is.
Doug, it's the first Saturday of November, so it's Army Week.
You don't get to name games after the day of.
That's
the
not what I'm
contest.
doing. I'm just saying how I remember. Okay, it's the Commanders Classic. Okay, is that better?
No, you've ruined it. We're moving on.
God damn it! I was making an observation of the day of. God damn it!
You are not
naming
Tennessee. Get
rivalries
out of
this
here.
way.
You are
I
get,
am
get
not
out of
naming
here.
rivalries this way.
So let's talk about the prospects that I had listed. Starting off with running back from Marshall, Kalen Laybourne. Got to say, when he ran the ball, it was extremely effective, and Marshall just didn't run the ball enough. Can't blame him for the loss here because he legitimately, whenever I saw him get handed the ball, he would run for like 8 yards at least. It was kind of insane how they just decided not to keep doing that. I don't understand it. Gotta say, he looks every bit as talented as his high school ranking had him, which is great to see. For him to come back from injury and from off field issues to get into a position where he will be looked at by NFL scouts. He'll have to get through some tough interviews, I'm sure, here, explain himself a little bit. At the same time, yeah, he looks NFL talented.
Yep.
And on the defensive side of the ball, I picked Bentley Sanders, cornerback from Nevada, who's having kind of another breakout season. If 2019 wasn't good enough for you at safety, he's doing it at corner now. No turnovers for him this week, but 10 solo tackles this game.
Jesus.
I will
Is that
say,
pretty good?
unfortunately, I didn't get to watch it, so I don't know if this is good or not. Because as a cornerback, it is possible that having enough tackles means that you're just allowing that many catches. I don't know if
Yeah.
that's the case or not. I didn't get to watch this game, unfortunately, but I will say his stats are eye popping enough. He's going to get some looks, some consideration. Hopefully, get a Senior Bowl, something like that. Get some work with NFL coaches as well. And I'm willing to put down money he gets drafted at this point. I
Don't know. Yeah.
I don't know if he's great or not right now. And we only have one season to go off of too, which Kenny Pickett got drafted in the first round off of one season, but
Yeah. So
corners don't
did
get
Mitch
that luxury.
Trubisky. All
So
right, but hey, as we're finishing up college, I do have a special guest sitting here in the green room. He is from our probably everyone's favorite video game series. Everyone, please welcome Luigi.
I'm like special guest, motherfucker. I'm part of the goddamn show. What the fuck?
Luigi,
are
welcome to the
Luigi. That's
show,
great.
man. We're glad to have you on.
So I do have a question for you. Since you guys are the Mario brothers, is your name Luigi Mario?
Well, clearly
no
it's
idea.
Mario.
I have
Well,
no idea
yeah,
what
you have
penis
Mario
that is.
Mario, and then I guess you're Luigi Mario.
I mean, it would have to be, right?
That's great.
All right. Well, welcome back. Happy Halloween there, Bug. I see you're enjoying it. But you're here for a reason. Tell us, what have you got for us?
So, for anybody who's been living under a rock today, the XFL announced team names, got some logos. There's some merch with those team logos and everything up on the XFL website right now. And, that's probably the biggest story here, but there also is a little bit extra. Maybe it's true, maybe it's not, about upcoming draft and quarterback assignments. So I don't know. This isn't anything completely official yet, but I would circle November 15th, 16th, and 17th. It's looking like those might be the days that the draft are. Again, this was some of those kind of a leak, nothing official. But if you're watching with us live on Twitch or on YouTube, you can see we've got a compilation of all the logos here. I'm going to kind of go through and break down each one individually because I've seen good responses and bad responses to all these. So I kind of want to go through all of them piece by piece, and then we can kind of just discuss here in a little bit if that's cool with y'all.
Man, if only there were some way we could get fan involvement, maybe like a fan controlled sports league.
Yeah, wouldn't that be cool if the fans would have, I don't know, picked some of these?
Maybe
they could vote.
Fan controlled football. That'd be
what a
cool.
novel idea there, right?
Anyway,
right, so,
XFL.
So yeah. First up, we got the Arlington Renegades, coached by Bob Stoops, who I believe was the coach for the Dallas Renegades. I don't understand the complete rebrand here. Arlington instead of Dallas. Keep the Renegades name and change the logo completely, even though it looks like a DR.
Don't see an A.
Yeah,
right.
This new logo doesn't make a ton of sense to me, and there was no controversy with it, so I don't know why they went and changed it. But this one kind of falls flat in my opinion. From everything I've seen, I think they're going to keep the same color schemes. This is just powder blue here, but I think the red is probably still going to be present as well. It's tough.
I vote that as the Renegades in Arlington, they should have moved them out to the Sticks.
Wanted men. I appreciate that more than you know. I appreciate it more than you know. Trust me. Next up, we have the DC Defenders. They were coached by Pep Hamilton last time, but this time around, it's going to be Reggie Barlow. New logo, same team name. I like this logo, but I would like it more if they hadn't had the other logo first, right?
I know. I prefer the original logo for sure.
Yeah, but if the original logo doesn't exist, this is awesome. It's just when you stack it up against the other one, you're like, this kind of sucks. But overall, again, same color scheme, same team name. Moving right along, Houston Roughnecks, coached by Wade Phillips. Suck it, NFL. They're still using an oil derrick. Stick that up your fucking ass. This is amazing. I love that they're able to just continually do this, and I want to see the NFL lose their shit and try to sue them for this one.
So work with me here. The XFL now has a deal with the NFL, right? Like they have a handshake agreement. I'm more willing to bet that they have approval to use this type of logo. They've also made a decent change to it by dropping that top piece off the star down.
Yeah, frankly, this is a bunch of steel girders that make an H.
Yes, right. Correct.
Everybody, I'm going to call it an oil derrick.
No, you're 100% right. But I'm saying
to the NFL.
They probably got the NFL's permission to use it, though.
Exactly. So this one's interesting. All right, this is one of our new teams, so to speak, this time around, the Orlando Guardians. Now, if you hear the name Guardians, there's a lot to unwrap here. So let's start off by talking about their head coach, Terrell Buckley. Sorry, this is a completely new guy to the XFL. We've talked about all these coaches before. No need to break this all back
Yeah,
down
but
again.
they didn't have teams assigned to them yet. So
Yeah.
Cool.
So this is a new city completely to the XFL, but this is almost identical, if not completely identical, to the New York Guardians of the last XFL. Different color scheme, though. Now, this is where it's up for a little interpretation. You can say this is either the replacement to the Tampa Bay Vipers, and we'll talk about the Vegas Vipers here in a little bit, or this is the replacement to the New York Guardians. It's kind of a mesh of the two. You have the New York Guardians of the old XFL or the last iteration of the league, but you have the same color scheme for the Guardians that the Tampa Bay Vipers had. So take your pick, 2 dozen in one hand, 12 or 24 in the other, whatever. I don't know the saying.
Math.
I'm tired. Math in public too.
Yeah.
So
why
this is going
did
to
you
be
double it to make it more complicated?
Right.
My brain hurt. My brain's broken. So yeah, it's looking like there's going to be this lime green yellow color scheme again. I'm interested to see how they're going to make it not awful. I don't know.
Work. It's hard to pull it off, but it can work.
I will say the more I look at this, it's got the gray in the center of the logo, but it looks like that outline is like a neon green or a yellow, but it looks like it's a very, very dark green and not gray on kind of like the secondary outline detailing lines now that I'm looking at it a little bit closer. So maybe this won't be as bad as it's looking. But moving right along, we have a third team in Texas in this iteration of the XFL. And this one, The Rock was pushing for this team name. It's the San Antonio Brahmas. They're coached by Hines Ward, so of course their colors are black and yellow. And I'll be honest with you, the first time I looked at this, I didn't even notice the B in the middle of the horns there. Like this
Jesus.
is the best.
I didn't notice it till you said it.
This is probably the best logo the longer I look at it, like far and away the best logo of all the logos for the XFL right now. And it's kind of depressing that they didn't redo all of them like this. And there's one that stayed exactly the same. We'll get there in a second. This team replaced the LA Wildcats. I don't think we need to have a discussion about one or the other here. This is awesome.
We already talked about earlier on the show that LA just can't attract any fans to any sport right now.
Dude,
so
it's a joke.
So
LA,
San Antonio,
San Antonio will support this team. I mean, the AAF,
San Antonio needs a football team.
Yeah, the AAF, they had some of the best crowds. They fully were behind that team, and then the league folds without any notice. I mean, that was a league that popped up kind of out of nowhere, and San Antonio was ready for it. So they'll be ready for the Brahmas, and it's going to be awesome. I've also heard that it's pronounced Brahmas, which I don't think I've ever heard it pronounced that way, but whatever.
No, The Rock's nickname was the Brahma Bull.
I know. That's what I'm saying.
That's
what I'm saying.
It's the Brahmas. Let's be real.
Right. Right.
Maybe some Texas dudes were like, yeah, that's the Brahmas right there.
Maybe.
It's probably exactly what happened.
This is apparently a breed of cattle that is very regionally specific to San Antonio as well. So, hey,
cool.
it's not completely a Rock tie-in, but if he connected those dots, there was no shot he wasn't getting this name, in his new league here. Next up, Seattle had a bit of a name change. Last time around, they were the Seattle Dragons. This time, they're the Seattle Sea Dragons. But there's the Seahawks. It's Seattle Sea Dragons. That's the most logical thing I could come up with, and I didn't even come up with it.
Just the Dragons.
At least they aren't the Seattle Sea Kraken. That would be really redundant.
That would be funny. Jim Haslett is coaching. Jim Haslett's coaching the team this time around. Logo is a little bit different. It's all right. It's less.
Yeah, I don't like it.
It's less UAB Blazers-esque. So
True.
That's probably the direction they were going with that. But it's the same color scheme. This is the Sea Dragons is just a little depressing. The overall logo itself. Yeah. I mean, but mariners are found at sea, Kraken are found in the ocean. So I mean, it's a theme. It's a thing. It's a whole thing.
You can find dragons wherever your imagination lets you find them. That's
also
wait a minute. All of Seattle's pro teams. Seahawks are fictional. Sea Dragons are fictional. Kraken are fictional. Are the Mariners like? Is there no such thing as a Mariner now? Like, are those just fake too?
You know what a submariner is, right?
Yeah.
Name more.
It's somebody on a submarine. A mariner is just somebody who travels the sea. And the baseball team's the only thing that's real
My
and the
dude,
only
I
thing
know
that has a
what
real shot
Mariners.
of winning anything.
Not
Anyway,
this
Hey,
year.
you set yourself up for that. They were in the playoffs. Yeah, they were. They're a good fucking team. Anyway, yeah, I don't. These are small, unnecessary changes for Seattle. It's kind of depressing in my opinion, and I say that because we talked about all these changes. The Roughnecks had to change something with their logo. Even Orlando, the Guardians, they just changed the color scheme. It looks like there might be some small tweaks. I don't understand the change to Arlington or DC personally. Seattle Battlehawks, they have kept it exactly the same. I don't know that there has been any changes. Anthony Beck is the head coach. I don't think they did any changes at all to this
there
logo, and it's fantastic.
is one change to their branding. It used to be apparently 2 words, Battlehawks, and now it's one
That's-
word with a lowercase h. Um,
I mean,
literally no difference, and I think I used to call them one word Battlehawks anyway. So they probably just simplified it.
when the Blackhawks in the NHL have gone back and forth with that over their history, and I think the Portland Winterhawks have done the same. Another hockey,
Yeah.
junior hockey team. There we go. Looking for the word. So for whatever reason, whenever Hawks is on the end, it screws it up. But yeah, this makes me very happy that they were able to keep absolutely everything because again, we talked about the Seattle fan base, we talked about the Houston fan base, we talked about the DC fan base a little bit. St. Louis, like you have 4 extremely solid fan bases in the XFL. Right. And then Arlington, Dallas was kind of that 5th one that they're there. They supported. They just were not as ravenous as the other 4 fan bases. I'm curious as to why Tampa lost their team. It's probably just because they got stuck with a shitty coach and
or it might have been
wanted to
some
go.
issues with getting access to Raymond James. I mean, it could be all sorts of different things.
Trestman being their coach definitely turned a lot of fans off. I'm just saying.
True.
Last but not least, the aforementioned Vegas Vipers, coached by Rod Woodson. This is a new city, new colors, red, black, and white. They kept that Vipers name. Now, I say new colors, red, black, and white. Those were the same colors as the New York Guardians, but they took Tampa Bay's name. So this is where I was saying, take your pick of who took whose spot between Orlando and Vegas, taking Tampa and New York. But the logo is very slightly different. This is extremely similar to the Tampa Bay Vipers logo as well, if I remember correctly. But they really went hard into this V in the Vipers logo because obviously it's Vegas and the Vipers. I appreciate too that just like the Vegas Golden Knights, they have dropped the Las Vegas portion of it and it is simply Vegas. I was curious if they were going to go with the Outlaws, like the original XFL, but seeing them keep one of the names from this last iteration, let's be real, maybe these teams would have moved by now had COVID not happened. But I think XFL 2.0 would probably still be going on as it is. So I enjoy that we were able to keep as many of the names as possible. Losing Wildcats is fine with me because that's a shitty name in general. Like that is a high school. I even don't like that Kansas State is the Wildcats. Colleges should not be the Wildcats.
Or Kentucky,
either. Arizona,
or Weber State,
Arizona.
Yeah, there's way too many Wildcats out there.
Yeah, and it was my high school rival, so even more reason to hate it. But
I love that
it's the high school mascot of your favorite place in the world.
No, true.
I love that we have a couple instances here of team colors really being matched up to the head coach, with Hines Ward getting the yellow and black and Rod Woodson getting the black here. This is great. I love that.
Yeah. No, I think that was kind of
and
the
Wade
best
Phillips
thing.
staying in Houston. Beautiful.
I think that was the best thing about Hines Ward being the San Antonio coach. they're able to redo everything and match up with The Rock, match up with Hines Ward. I mean, this was a pure XFL 2.1, 3.0, whatever you would call it, team right here. They're distancing themselves from anything Vince McMahon related as much as possible. I would like to know why all of the changes elsewhere, yet you keep Guardians mostly the same and Battlehawks, I mean, identical. I know
Well,
St. Louis has probably been the most vocal market about getting their team
yeah.
back and still being the Battlehawks when they come back. So I'm sure that probably played a part of it. But I'm wondering if Veggie Man out in Seattle had anything to do with wanting to change it to the Sea Dragons. I don't know.
I would imagine there has been some behind the scenes focus testing, and they probably got a 100% response rate of it better fucking be the Battlehawks or we will never come to a game.
Very fucking possible. I know this. I might have to look into season tickets. It might be worth it for me to make the trip across the state every couple weeks for a Battlehawks game. It looks like it's an insane environment.
There you go.
I might have to join you once or twice. I mean,
Yep.
it's looking pretty awesome.
Love it, man. That's all I have for the XFL right now, though. But like I said, November 15th, 16th, and 17th looks like it's going to be the date that quarterbacks are assigned, 2 per team on the 15th, and the 16th and 17th are looking to be the draft. I have not heard or seen anything about the USFL. It has, if anything came out in the past couple, I'd say 4 or 5 days, it's absolutely been overshadowed by the
Right.
news of the XFL drop today. I'm curious to see where the XFL and USFL, who's going to be jockeying for these earlier drafts and who's going to have the later draft and what the talent disparity is going to be between these two leagues. I would venture to say, talent-wise, they're probably going to be about equal. I think the biggest hindrance to the USFL last year is after a year of COVID, general fans did not care about watching a spring league with no fans in the stands. Right. I understand that their
Yeah.
whole business model was it's for television. Not having the fans there made for bad television, and everybody was just tired of seeing
Well,
it at that point.
and the fact they were confined to a single city, so then the only people who cared about it were already in
Yep.
Birmingham.
Yep.
Like, it's hard to get behind your local team when they're not local. So,
Yep.
the USFL had a bunch of issues last year to work through, and I'm impressed that they survived, honestly.
They still did great numbers too. I mean, we
Right.
can sit here and say, oh, it was so hard to watch, but people still watched it. I mean,
Right.
we still watched it and talked about it. So was it hard? Yeah, but the football wasn't really that bad.
It was from time to time. Depends on what game you watched.
Early in the season, it's one of those things. It got significantly better as the year went on. I mean, shit, go back and look and see what I said about the FCF after the first weekend of games.
Yeah.
Very true. But I do believe that's going to do it for our show after a whole hour 40 of insane, weird business side news and all sorts of nonsense going on across everywhere. Which way you look, there's all sorts of football things happening. So glad we could get Bug on to talk about the XFL. It's very important because he is our resident non-NFL Pro League expert and very much appreciate his input.
Thanks, Luigi.
But with that, I guess I don't know if your kids are still up. Probably not at this point. If they are,
they had
go
that
back
sugar
to
crash, man. They had that sugar crash already.
There you go.
Understandable. But yeah, with that, that's all I had planned for the show. You guys have anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Yeah. Did you guys know that lizards communicate by doing push-ups?
That
I'm
sounds fake.
It's a real fact from Snapple.
Therefore,
also,
it's true.
The Browns are up 18-0. So
they were up 11-0 at one point. They got a safety. This makes no sense.
Yeah.
Make it make sense.
No. So yeah, okay, let me make it make sense. They didn't get a safety, they get a 2-point conversion. Sports Score bot just freaked out.
Okay.
Okay.
Why'd they go for 2? Just because they could?
Because fuck 'em,
Rivalry
that's why.
game, go
I
for 2.
mean-
I guess that's what the game script said.
I always refer to the Woody Hayes quote because I couldn't go for 3. So that's
I will
definitely
say,
understandable.
too, before I throw it over to Tug to kind of take us out, if you're interested in helping raise money to support men's health, I'm going to send my Movember link over to Tug, and
Ooh.
you can donate there. It'll be in the description down below, both on YouTube and anywhere you're listening to this podcast. We'll start having it scrolling across the bottom. I might try and see about getting a Nightbot going. We'll talk about that here in a little bit after the show. But I did Movember last year, raised some good money. I'm gonna do it again this year. So say goodbye to this mustache. It's going away after tonight.
Oh, I'm not
And
ready for it. This freaks me out every time.
Well, we'll be getting a new one going, and it'll be here for quite a long while. But it's become a
Gosh,
fun
imagine
November
if I clean
tradition.
shaved right now.
No, I'm not ready.
I don't even
No.
want
That
to think
beard's
about
hiding
that.
a whole lot of ugly, huh?
Oh yeah, dude. For real. I got like
All right,
5
guys.
chins going on right there.
Can I get somebody to read the links before I lag out again?
Okay.
Think about BDT football and go to any website and check us out. That's pretty much what you can do. The only exception being Twitch, where we are the full name, Big Dudes in the Trenches. We really do appreciate. We have a couple supporters on Patreon now. We really do appreciate your support. It's the best way to get onto the Patreon side of Discord and get to the BDT Trench ratings, the full version, and all sorts of cool things like that. You can also go to our website, bdtfootball.com. It's still a work in progress, but at the same time, it's a good way to reach us if you want to. And we have a email, mailbox at bdtfootball.com as well. Get in touch with us any way you want to. Most part, just think BDT football and you'll be able to find us.
There it
We
is.
got that permanently for the Discord in the description as well. We're not going to try and read that off, though. That would be
No.
miserable.
Same with the YouTube in the description.
The Browns just scored again. It's 25-0 now.
Right.
Damn.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. That
Tug,
is
we're getting
all
some
we have.
points.
All we have in the all the time we have in the show today. Thank you for watching or for listening. And just remember, you can't win a game if you can't win in the trenches.